Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to another Supercell Creator Academy panel. I'm going to be your host today. My name is Kingdom, also known as Anthony, and I have some awesome guests to introduce to you today for this panel on mental health and burnout for content creators. But before I introduce those guys, I want to remind you that if you are a creator of any size at any part in your journey in the Supercell ecosystem, this week Supercell announced that they are increasing the threshold, allowing even more creators than before to participate in their creator program. So if you're interested, visit supercellcreators.com and sign up and see if you can start your journey today, no matter what size you are. So it's interesting, the guys that I get to introduce today, I'm really excited for these two creators. They are a dynamic duo in the space for Supercells, doing Brawl Stars content. And some interesting tidbits about these two content creators specifically is that they are friends in real life. They both have a little over 1 million subscribers on their main channel, a little over 130,000 followers on Twitter, and they have uploaded 1,100 videos each. There's something special about these two guys, and I'm excited to talk to them about mental health today. So join me in welcoming Lex and Kairos to the panel today.
Thank you.
How's it
so
going,
much,
guys?
man. Appreciate the introduction. You make me feel like I'm an important person. I'm just another dude.
You are, and you're an important
I felt like
dude.
we were almost twins there, KT. Like our stats are basically identical.
It's so true. I didn't even realize we had both released a similar number of videos. That's funny.
Yeah.
I thought this was, I almost thought it was planned, but it sounds like it's not. So that's interesting that you guys
We're
didn't
always
plan
trying
that.
to keep up with each other. In
It's
a good,
awesome.
fun,
It's
and
awesome.
exciting way.
In a good way. In a good way.
Yeah.
So before we get into today, most people that are watching will know and be familiar with who you guys are. However, there will be some, because this is live, that are coming to visit and they want to learn about mental health overall. And they're creators from different spaces. And so if each of you would just mention kind of what kind of content you create, when you started, and at what point it became a full-time career for you.
Yeah. Well, we actually both started with Clash Royale. And we were just both kind of dinking around with making videos and just having fun with it. I think neither of us ever intended for it to be a really like a full-time thing. It was never the intention. It was just a little hobby, something that, like, I don't know about Lex, I can't speak for him, but for me, I just made my first video and I was like, man, that was cool. And then I started getting comments on the video and I was like, man, people are actually like responding to this. There are actual people watching. I think I had like 12 views at first, but it was like there were strangers online watching. That's really fun and cool and exciting. But eventually I just fell in love with the whole process of content creation and also of being able to interact with other people that love the similar things that I love. So, and it just kind of built up until 2019. I went full time and Brawl Stars went global and kind of it just completely changed my life in a big way.
Awesome. That's awesome. What about you, Lex?
I was definitely I went full time probably about a year or so after Kairos did. I have a bunch of kids, and so I couldn't make the leap as quick as he did because I had a bunch of people to take care of. I wanted to be sure, but no, I just started as a complete. I was bored in a hotel room and been watching Chief Pat and everybody. I'm like, bro, I can do that. And so I did it, and I was horrible. In fact, me and Kairos were literally laughing today at my old thumbnails, how bad they were.
We both posted thumbnails that we did within the first year, and they were so bad.
It was good. But yeah, no, I just started, was having fun, and when Brawl Stars came out, kind of took off for me and made the jump not too long after Brawl Stars went global.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, of course, I'm sure you guys are aware that content creation in general, being an influencer, is one of the most sought after careers for children and young people right now. You both have kids, so you probably have some of that in your own home. A staggering 71% of content creators that are doing it full time have said they've experienced burnout or mental fatigue or some type of anxiety or challenge, even leading all the way to depression. And I'm curious, and we'll start with you, Lex, how has mental health overall and how it's talked about changed from when you started creating content to now?
Well, when I started creating content, like, literally nobody talked about it. I knew nothing about it. All I knew was that you were just supposed to make videos on a nonstop treadmill forever, and that was the way to get it done. And there was nobody talking about it. Now there's actually quite a few resources. There's articles that you can go check out.
Right.
So the landscape has changed quite a bit. It's actually more people are aware that it's a thing. And if you aren't aware, then hopefully this video, this podcast, this live stream will help you realize the dangers that it can actually pose to you.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to hear you say that it's about 70%, because I would imagine it's way higher. Like, I don't know a single content creator who has not experienced some type of a burnout at some point or another.
Wow.
I mean, burnout to varying different degrees. Whether it's actually
Right.
having like a long-term effect on somebody, I don't know. But I don't know anybody who has not been burnt out at one point or another. Except for maybe OJ.
No, he's done it too.
He has said that he's felt burnt out and stuff too, and actually even OJ has made some changes to his life to try and improve his own mental health and also his physical health because of the issues that have come from actually being a content creator. I'm not going to speak on his behalf. He can share that
Right.
on his own time, but like it's an interesting career because like when people come and they watch the video, they see all of the time that was put into releasing that video. They see the blood, sweat, and the tears as, all the time that was actually like used to develop a good thing. And then they watch it for 15 minutes and then they leave and they forget about it. But when you're a content creator, there's a lot of work and effort that goes into every single piece of content that we make. And it's you don't forget about it. In fact, after we publish, it's not over. Then you're staring at your phone, you're looking at your analytics, you're trying to decide like, should I have done a different thumbnail? Should I have done a different title? Was this video
Right.
even good? Should I do something like this again? Oh no, now it's ranked 10 out of 10, meaning that's bad, by the way. You want
That's
your
a bad
videos
day.
to rank 1
That's
out
a
of
bad
10.
day.
If a video is ranked 10 out of 10, it can just wreck your whole day. And I'm not even
Jeez.
joking. Like
Yeah.
I've experienced that. I'm sure so many other content creators have experienced that as well, especially when you're like growing and you're trying to figure out what kind of content to actually like build up your channel on. So I don't know. It's interesting. And also we do it all alone. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in my office here hanging out and, I've got my buddy Lex to chat and everything. But, it's not like we're ever in person very frequently. Like 80% of the time, or probably 90% of the time, we're in an office just doing stuff by ourselves, talking to nobody except for, sending messages on the computer or whatever, which is also good. But, it's different.
Yeah. So you mentioned burnout, and I want to stay there. Like, Lex, have you experienced burnout or been close? I think a lot of people think burnout is when you actually quit, but it's when you get to the point where you want to, where you're so stressed out that you want to. Have you been there, and how have you dealt with it?
I don't know if I've ever actually been to the point where I'm like, okay, dude, I feel like I'm just done with this because it's too much. But there's absolutely been plenty of times where I felt like I am just wrecking myself. Like this, I don't know how long I can keep going at this pace because like I'm exhausted. I'm mentally drained. I can't think of ideas. I don't want to like be here at this moment doing this. So in that sense, yeah, absolutely burnout for sure. Never to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm done with this because I love it too much. But
Right.
yeah, no, 100%. I have felt it.
What have you done to continue to push forward?
You know what? The biggest thing that I think that helps me whenever I get to that state of where I'm just like I'm sick of doing this one thing right here. I will literally make some random weird piece of content that just I want to make. Like they're usually pretty off the wall. Like I'll do a random parody of a Christmas musical. I've done it, and just because I wanted to, and it like engages your creativity again, and you're doing something for you that still ends up being content, so you don't feel guilty about it. But it's not necessarily for the audience. You're just doing it for you so that you can feel creative and you can kind of just forget about everything else and just have fun.
That's actually a really awesome tip. Kairos, have you ever shared any of your mental health challenges or talked about mental health to your community, and like how do you engage that, or even your peers that are in content creation?
Yeah, I actually have. It's funny because there's actually been plenty of times when I've just dropped a community post on my YouTube page and just been like, hey guys, I'm just going to take a week off and you're not going to see another video for a while because I just need some time. So I've done that before, but a few months ago, I actually released a Reddit post on the Brawl Stars subreddit that was like, hey guys, I'm leaving the Brawl Stars subreddit because honestly, like, I just can't handle all of the worry about what people's opinions of me are or anything like that. Like, I just couldn't handle it. And it's not like people were being like unnaturally, I mean, Reddit is Reddit, right? Like, people in the community, sometimes people are toxic, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's hard to juggle as a content creator because you want to try and improve and get better, and you want to like accept that criticism in a way that can help you actually grow and become better. But I don't think that we're wired to be able to handle comments from hundreds and thousands of people. Like, that's very different, especially online, where people will just say whatever because they're anonymous and they don't have to worry about any backlash or anything like that. So I've definitely reached out or, and talked about some mental health. Now I will say that like, I haven't struggled with like severe anxiety or depression or anything like that. I've been pretty fortunate to not have big struggles with mental health. But I know that I've had a lot of conversations with people that have. In fact, you know what? My wife actually struggled a lot with like postpartum depression. It was a really big thing. So while mental health is not something that I personally have experienced myself, I've experienced it like very strongly secondhandedly. And I can tell that, it's really important. It's more important than any video you're ever going to release. It really is. You need to take care of yourself and do what you need to make sure that you can't release more videos if you're crippled by anxiety and depression. You just can't.
Yeah, and I'm curious, Lex, being a father of 7, I'm sure you have a lot going on in terms of trying to balance the pressure of your family, your kids, your wife, your community at the same time, and your content, and then yourself, and your personal desires. How have you found balance in that, and have you had to make some sacrifices on both ends in order to kind of, keep everyone happy, so to speak?
Sure. Have I found that balance? I think that I'm still searching for that, to be honest.
I think we both are.
Yeah.
It's always a balance.
I used to for the past, or at least for the first 4 years of being full-time, I worked 7 days a week, at least 9 to 10 hours a day at least. And my wife finally, she broke me down. She was like, you gotta stop. And so I'm taking off a whopping 1 day a week now. I feel it's
Congratulations.
baby steps, right? But I will say that one way that helps me find like a little bit of takes my mind off of all the stress and from every angle is just like doing something that's just for me. And in my case, it's woodworking. I do a lot of woodworking, like sometimes in the evening, sometimes on the weekend. But getting a hobby for yourself, something that's just for you, it's not for content, it's just for you, really helps, or it's helped me at least, calm me down and take my mind off of the insurmountable pressures that this job can bring.
Yeah. How about you, Kairos? What have you done to balance kind of the demand coming from both ends, having a family and also being a full-time content creator?
Yeah, I think this is something I struggled with a lot before I was like, when I made the jump to full-time, or even just before I made the jump to full-time, and I was juggling, school and work and also making videos. It was really hard for me to find that balance because I just wanted to grow and get to the point where I was even stable. And it like, that's the thing, is that when you're a smaller content creator, oftentimes you have to work harder than the people that are established because you don't yet have an audience, and you want to get the YouTube or the algorithm or whatever to like share your content out to other people and be able to grow. So you do have to work harder, and having that balance is really hard. But the thing is I thought that once I had an established channel that burnout would go away, or that worry would go away. It got worse. Like, I just got more worried that, okay, now I'm here. I'm actually able to support my family doing something that I love. This is awesome. But now, what if that went away? What if I got canceled? Or what if, like, I don't know, what if Brawl Stars got killed? Or what if people stopped watching my videos because of this, that, or whatever? And then I could no longer make a living doing what I love. And that worry was even harder. So I started working harder and harder and harder. And I mean, it was really hard. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was working way too many hours. I mean, the first year full time, I worked 100-hour work weeks.
Wow.
For the first whole year, I wasn't eating well. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't finding time to enjoy my life. And it's funny because it got to a point where I stopped enjoying playing video games. And video games is how I got into this. Like, I loved it. It was like, I love video games. And there was one day where I was like sitting down. I'm like, okay, I finally have some time for myself. What game do I want to play? And nothing. I did not have any desire to do anything. And so, because what happened whenever I sat down to play a game was the only thing in my mind was, well, there were two things in my mind. First of all, I could be making a video instead. And like, anytime I'm not spending creating content is money that I lose, right? Because I can make an infinite number of videos. So that was the first thing that was always on my mind. The second thing that was always on my mind was, okay, I'm playing this game for my own personal satisfaction, but how could I make a video on this? Could I release a video and like actually monetize this? And like, could I do a second channel? Could I do a fourth channel covering this game that I'm enjoying to play? And I just couldn't dissociate that work for me. And so I very much agree with what Lex said about getting a hobby. That was really helpful for me. In fact, what I decided was, you know what? I love video games, so I need to continue loving video games. Otherwise, I'll get burnt out. So I'm always going to have one video game on the side that I am going to play that I am not allowed to create content on. And so, like, for right now, that's old school RuneScape. I'm playing tons of old school RuneScape. I was playing it right before we started stream. I'm going to be playing it right after we get off the stream. Like, having fun with that game, you know? And I've mentioned this in a few videos, and people in the comment section are like, oh, why don't you make some videos about it? I'm like, no, I'm not. I can't let that happen because then I will lose that passion and I'll stop, like, enjoying life, you know? And I think that taking that time to enjoy life is really important.
It seems like both of you are leaning into getting a hobby, making a video that has nothing to do with, your main game, or something that's just fun and a little off topic, and, having a game that you grind on the side that you don't do publicly, and maybe you talk about it, but you don't make any content on it. There is a challenge as you grow, and it seems like you experienced it, Kairos. You talked a little bit about it, is that when you're smaller, you can be a little bit of a perfectionist in terms of, I want to create perfect content. And the best content, and it's going to take 100 hours a week to create the best content. And you can even convince yourself of that. I'm curious, Lex, how you would advise someone that's getting started in content creation as they're on that rise and they basically are at that place where, like Kairos early in his career, are like, I have to work 80 plus hours. I have to put in 100 hours a week or my channel won't be successful. It may be a challenging question, but I'm wondering, Lex, like, what you would say to that content creator.
Yeah, that is tough. I mean, because I had very similar experience to Kairos, and it's kind of what I know as well. Like, I just put in immense amounts of work to make it happen.
Right.
But I think that I would say that don't concentrate so much on the amount of work that you do, but doing it smarter.
Yeah.
Especially when you start, listen, your first videos aren't going to be good. They're just not. Nothing that you do in life, when you start off at it, it's not going to be good. The first time doing something's not going to be good. So focus on, getting better, making better thumbnails, whether that's going to take you 10 times as long and you learn something, that'll be better for you in the future. Whether it's doing some study and, learning how to make better videos, do that rather than work harder, work smarter, because it's just while it does take a lot of work, I can't say that it doesn't. It's going to take a ton of work.
Yeah.
You could do it a little bit smarter than just pounding your head against the wall over and over again. And that's something that I didn't do. I pounded my head against the wall just until I was silly. I still am. Also, I will say, get some friends or people like at the Creator Academy that, it's just a wealth of knowledge that's waiting there for you, that you don't have to just do it by trial and error. Like you can learn from people who have been doing this for a long time, and you can instantly get a leg up on people just by learning these things and then trying to put them into place in your own content.
Has you guys' relationship positively impacted your mental health, and do you go to each other at times when necessary?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was kind of cool because like we were there together before, like I think I had maybe 10,000 subs. Like we were really, really small content creators, and we were just making videos, and it was just fun. It was nice to find somebody else that was about my size, that we were kind of doing the same thing, and we just kind of grew together. And it's been really nice because as I've struggled with something, Lex is either there experiencing it too, or he's able to offer solutions because he understands what it's like. So, I mean, if you can find a friend, I don't know how to do that naturally. I mean, it was just so natural for Lex and I. It just clicked. Like, our first conversation, we were instantly best friends. It's funny because the more I hear people interviewing Lex, the more I realize that everybody seems to have that connection with him. So maybe it's just Lex. But finding
no,
a
it's
friend
only you,
huge.
KT. It's only you.
It's not. Everyone wants to be Lex's friend.
So, go ahead, Lex.
No, I was to say that it is nice, though, to have a friend, even if they're not like in content creation. Obviously, it'd be a plus if they were, but even if they're not, like somebody that that is willing to listen to you or, commiserate with you, like what Kairos and I do a lot. Just, someone to help you vent. Like there's been plenty of times where I know that I'm going to tell Kairos something. There's nothing he can do about it. Maybe he felt the same thing, but just being able to have somebody like, bro, I just put out this video. It's a 9 out of 10. I thought it was really good. Nobody likes it. What the crap did I do wrong? And sometimes there's nothing to be done, but it makes you, it helps you just being able to share those experiences with somebody, to know that you're not alone.
That is something that we have done a lot. It's just like, just be sad for each other and with each other. Having someone to relate with it's really important, I think. And
that's awesome.
Especially somebody that gets what it's like to see that 10 out of 10. Oh,
yeah,
it's rough.
That seems like a day changer, maybe a week changer.
It really can be. Sometimes even like sometimes it's a whole month-long thing. I don't know. I worked on a few months back. I released the Star Park Games was a series that I released, and that was actually something that started because I wanted to just have fun doing something really exciting. And like Lex was saying earlier, it was a passion project of mine. And I wasn't sure how it would go. I thought it would do really well. And it did pretty well in comparison to most of my content. But for how much time I put into it, it very greatly underperformed what I was hoping for. In fact, I lost money on that series. And I didn't lose just a little bit. I lost a lot of money on the series because of how much time and effort was actually put into it. Some of my lowest revenue months over the past year were those 2 months that I actually released those content, because there was so much time being spent into that I couldn't release other videos that typically do really well and, might not be as time intensive, but consistently bringing up that revenue. So that was really hard for me to do something that was really passionate, exciting, and fun. And then for it to just like do fine, but just not like, I'm not going to do it again because it took too much time and it doesn't make sense for me to, which is sad because I enjoyed the filming process. I really enjoyed creating the content. So, it's hard. And, this is something that I've struggled with, is feeling like your worth is tied to the number of views that your video gets. Like, I don't know, Lex, do you?
100%. 100%. Like, when you see, and I guarantee you, every creator who's watching right now absolutely knows this feeling. Whenever you put out a video and it says 1 out of 10, you are like the god of YouTube. You're like, oh my gosh, I did a thing. I'm so good. And if you were to put out a video the next day and it was 10 out of 10, you're like, I suck at this. I might as well quit now. I don't know what I'm doing. It's like a number on the screen will change your entire perspective on like who you are. It's like tied to your. It's a weird.
It's dumb.
Weird thing.
It's dumb. I wish it didn't happen. Like, and it's funny because I like to think that I'm impervious to that. Like, yes, I can just look at the data and just like it's fine. Like I can learn from that, but it's so hard. It is so hard and difficult to do. It's just rough. I don't know how to overcome that. In fact, the best advice that I have for that is to stop looking at your analytics, which is not always the right answer either, because that's how you also learn and you grow. And like, if you can go into your, your video and actually see where people left off the video, then that can help you figure out what you want to do. Or that can help you learn for future videos so you don't do that again. And then you do the things that keep people watching. But the problem with doing that then is sometimes you lose your personality in it too. Like so you may recall let's see here, Stewie McBeaker and
Stewie
the Brawl guy.
Yeah.
Stewie McBeaker and the Brawl guy were alternate personas that I release on a lot of my videos that had completely different personalities than myself, but it was acting, right? Like it was fun. I put on costumes and outfits and it was so fun. But the thing is they led to like, this is so cringe comments and people leaving the videos because it was like something different than just like, I don't know. It was so different and out there that people left the video. So that led to me just not releasing that. And now I regret not actually keeping that personality in my videos looking back. And, I could bring them back now, but now it would be kind of a little weird, right? And so it's weird because looking at the data can be really beneficial. And, 80% of the time, I learn from it and I grow as a content creator by looking at the data. But that 20% where it kind of ruins your experience, that's really unfortunate. And
it can wreck your entire mental space.
It can.
It really can.
In fact,
and it's hard not to let it do that, but it's something you should strive to not let it, have that big of a hold on you. And if you figure it out, please come and let me know.
It's funny, and this is something we haven't even talked about, and I'm sure that a lot of content creators will experience this, is also the negativity that comes from comparing yourself to other content creators. That is a really big issue. One of the best things that has improved my mental health was when the data on other content creators was no longer public. Like you could no longer see daily stats on other content creators like you used to be able to. And once that happened, it was so much harder to actually compare yourself because you actually go somewhere. Do you know what I'm talking about, Lex? Like I would use a third-party site or software to, if I just pulled up your channel, it would just show how many views you're getting, how many views I'm getting, and it would compare them on a day-to-day basis. Did you ever do that? Or I don't know.
I don't really, I've always been good at that, I guess, to very much where the only person I really compare myself with, now I've done it before, but the only person I usually try to compare myself with is myself.
Yeah.
Like, was this video good? Did I do okay? Am I improving on what I've done? Because I kind of fell into that trap very early on, where I'd look at other creators and be like, oh man, I suck, man. Those guys are just better than me.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing for you to do because it's not a competition per se. You're trying to improve. And if you focus on yourself and only worry about yourself, then you're gonna do a lot better than you would if you were constantly comparing yourself to other people.
That's very, very solid.
I've got props to you for not falling into that trap as often as I have, because that's a very scary trap. And, there's nothing more depressing than looking at your channel and being like, oh man, things are going so great. And then you look up some other YouTuber who is also creating content on Brawl Stars and they're doing even better. And then you're like, wait, what? What? I thought things were so good. And it's just like, comparison is the thief of joy, I think is a phrase that a lot of people have said. I don't know who originally came up with it, but it's absolutely the truth. And as a content creator, if you can avoid that, then that would be really, really good. Just don't compare yourself stat-wise to other creators. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, it seems like comparison traps are like the birthplace of imposter syndrome, which is something I don't know if content creators really think about as something that when you get to that place where it's like, wait, am I worthy of even doing this? Should I be making this content? Am I really a good content creator? That person made almost the exact same video and got 3 times as many views as me. So I can see how that would be something very difficult and really solid. You know, what you said there, Lex, about comparing yourself to yourself. You know, it's almost like a healthy comparison trap, if anything. One of the things that impacts mental health for content creators in a significant way is like this desire to please your community. And it can become very difficult and lead to burnout and lead to mental fatigue when you're just trying to figure out, well, I want to create this, but they want me to create that. I'm curious how you guys manage what you create and what content you put out versus what your community wants you to, and if there's ever been a time when you've intentionally gone against that.
I intentionally go against it all the time.
Lex is the king of doing that.
I don't know if it's
remember
just
when,
my
like,
personality.
Gemming videos did so well, and it was like, I feel like a lot of content creators like just, I wouldn't say call it a trap, but like got into that mode of like, oh, a gemming video did well, so I'll release more gemming videos. And then all of a sudden, the only thing you're doing is releasing gemming videos.
Eventually, they were their
like,
course, and you're pigeonholed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard.
But no, I'm very, stubborn, I guess. I like whatever weird idea pops into my head that I want to do, I just make the video. And I hope that my vision for what I thought was entertaining, that other people find entertaining. And I've been decently fortunate that, people have, but I've definitely made some videos that people are like, bro, what was this? I'm like, you know what? I don't even care. I liked it. I thought it was a good video. You know what? You don't have to watch it. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I do think that it is a little bit of a balancing act. If you're full time, you do have to cater to the viewers to some extent.
Sure.
But you got to figure out a way to do it in a way that's not going to I don't know, like there are videos that you can make that are almost like effortless, that you just go and you do. Like, I don't know, let me think of an example here. The unboxing videos, right? For Brawl Stars, when gemming was a thing, like you could just do it, and there was no personality in it. You just like released a video, and it was boring, but you get the viewership. But then maybe you celebrate after doing that by doing something that you enjoy creating for content. But at the end of the day, this is a job. Like, I couldn't just stop creating Brawl Stars content right now because I don't make money doing something else. I like how Xiuming says tier lists. I love tier lists. That is one of my favorite video series ever. Like, I genuinely love taking all the pro content and just like piecing it together. But I do understand where you're coming from there, Xiuming. Like, for some people, that's not your bread and butter. That's not something that you actually love to create content on. But I look forward to releasing a tier list every single update. It's hard work, but also I love looking at the very end and being like, man, I'm proud of this tier list.
So there's anxiety is one of those things that, of course, you deal with in content creation. And I think a lot of people have a misconception that anxiety is something that is, it's like people that have panic attacks have anxiety, and it's when it gets really bad. But there actually is something called general anxiety, which is if you're a public speaker, if you get on camera in front of people, which is, creating content, and you stand up in front of people, you get, reviews, and you see harsh comments or good comments. All of it leads to general anxiety, where you just experience it, and it becomes a problem when the emotions that are the result of that anxiety are overwhelming. I'm curious how you guys manage like that general anxiety, or how you touch grass, to get away from everything involved in content creation.
I think that I handle it pretty well because I don't really get affected. Maybe I'm just a bad one to talk first on this, because I don't think it affects me too awfully much. Like, I've done well. I usually don't like get nervous public speaking. But guys, I'm just joking. So I do pretty well not being able to let that stuff affect me very much. So
that's awesome.
I don't have a lot of tips for you guys. Kairos, though, may have one.
The Lex and I are great at making fools of ourselves.
That's true.
I don't know. I think that kind of comes with content creation. It's difficult to. I think what you should do is you should focus on creating content that plays to your strengths. If you struggle with that, Lex is so good at on the fly commentary. He's so funny and witty and just like on the spot. He's just made for it. I'm not. And so, like, I just am not. Like, I try my best, but I can't do it. So, like, Let's Plays, I don't do Let's Plays the same way that Lex does. A lot of the times, like my Nuzlocke video, that's a Let's Play, right? But after I filmed the whole thing, I then went back and wrote script work and then like added commentary through it. And so I made the video my own and played to my strengths. And I think that that's one of the best ways that you can actually create content. I don't know, like Lex, you and I, we've talked about Ryan Trahan's content where he just goes out on the streets and just like goes to people and he's like, hey, I'm selling this pen for 5 cents. You want to buy it or whatever? Like I could never do that. That's not the content I'm going to create, even if I knew the video would do well. You should play to your strengths.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. That's the same way like Kairos is extremely analytical, like and I could never make videos like Kairos. I couldn't. And so like if you're the type of person, no, I wouldn't, and therefore I wouldn't do it. But like if you're the type of person who has got a big personality, play to that strength. If you're more a studious type of person, play to that strength. You know, whatever, you know, you personally are good at, tailor your content around your personality and don't try to be, you know, like Kairos if you're not Kairos, if you don't have the same personality. If you are, well then cool, you can make those kind of videos and try to make them better than him. Good luck.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and one thing that's great about content creation is that a lot of it can also be done after you've recorded, you know, and filmed. So sometimes, like, let's just say you don't have, like, you look at yourself and you don't consider yourself to have a whole lot of strengths. Well, if you feel like you don't have a lot of strengths, like I could not film a Let's Play video like Lex does, then one thing you can do is just spend more time than other content creators. Take the time to learn how to edit in a way that really makes it solid and great without, you know, like, I think you get where I'm coming from. Like, take the time. If you don't have the strengths or you're still developing those skills, then putting in more time would work. You know, we just don't want to do 100-hour work weeks in a way that drains your mental health. It's just the whole topic of discussion here. Do it in a way, take your time, but take more time. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. It's hard, but this is why this topic is so difficult to really grasp. And because creating content is a difficult process. There's not a rule book for it. And as soon as a rule book is written for it, then some content creator goes and releases something that just blows everything out of the water and nobody was expecting, and all of a sudden, that's the new rule, right? Like, that happens all the time on YouTube. The meta shifts, just like balance changes will shift playing a game, you know?
Yeah. Kairos mentioned in the chat, and you guys may have seen it, if you have any questions for these guys or for the panel in general, throw them in the chat and we'll get to them in about 10 minutes. I kind of want to ask you guys, you know, boundaries are an important part of maintaining really good mental well-being, and there's a couple of different areas where you have to set boundaries as a content creator. I'm curious if you guys have ever had to set firm boundaries with fans, and how you've gone about that. We'll start with Lex.
Well, okay, so boundaries to me, there's a couple different things here. Well, on the fans part, real quick, I go from home to my studio and back and forth. I don't really have too many interactions like that. But I will say, in terms of boundaries, is that for a long time, when I had my studio in my house, I had no boundaries when it came to work and home life. Like, it didn't matter what time of the night. I knew that my stuff was right upstairs and I could go up there and start working again. And I would work nonstop. And it took a long time to figure out that I needed a schedule. And like, no matter what, after a certain time, unless it was an absolute emergency, I was done with work for the day. It's a little bit easier for me now because my studio isn't in my house. So when I leave here, I don't have any work stuff at home. I'm done for the day. And then, you know, Sundays is that way as well. And I think that that's an important thing for people to be able to set for themselves, even as you're growing, that it can't be nonstop work forever. There's got to be some boundaries. You got to have, you know, a schedule for yourself so that you know when it's time to work and when it's time to actually live the rest of your life as well. And having that schedule, it's not a detriment. It actually will help you reach your deadlines. It's like, okay, I've got to get it done by, you know, 6 o'clock today. Then, you know, you got to get your work done. So setting a schedule for yourself and adhering to those boundaries is a good thing.
How about you, Kairos?
Yeah, I think that setting a schedule is really important. I think one boundary that I try to never encroach on when it comes to work is that work should not prevent me from getting 8 hours of sleep at night. Wow. I think that when it comes to mental health, that physical health and mental health are like so important. If your mental health declines, then your physical health is likely to decline. And if your physical health is in decline, then your mental health is likely going to decline as well. And so doing things like eating right, sleeping enough, exercising, which I really need to improve on. I have a bachelor's in exercise physiology. I know all the reasons why I should be exercising, and I'm still not doing it. Like, anything you can do to improve your mental health or physical health is going to have a positive effect on your mental health as well. As for boundaries with fans, there came a point where I had to turn my DMs on private because I just had too many people just reaching out and just wanting to chat or whatever, and it kind of sucks. But like, and even now, when I have my DMs in private, I still get people that just like want to hang out and chat and stuff like that. And so it's really unfortunate, but like, I can't spend time making videos if I'm in DMs messaging my fans.
Yeah.
I have to either focus on making videos or hanging out with my fans. But if I stop making videos, then I will no longer have fans and no longer have something to support my family. So it's really hard. You do have to set certain boundaries. And sometimes when somebody sends me a DM, like, I know this might be bad or whatever, but like, when it comes to my own mental health, sometimes I have to put off that response to that message for like a month. And that's happened before. I know that sounds silly, but like, you know, like if it comes to something really important, I'm usually pretty good at responding, but like, I have to focus on what is most important. And sometimes that means cutting out things that I wish that I could do. I wish I had time to do everything, but I don't. And you have to figure out what that balance is for you.
That's really good. We're going to transition over to some questions from you guys.
Cool.
We got a few questions in, and we're starting with a question from Rick. And it says, do you think setting up a work schedule can help with burnout?
Yes.
Absolutely.
You might not be able to
100%.
release as much content as you want to. That's the thing about YouTube is anytime you're not working, you're losing money. At least that's the perspective that I have often felt that I have. I know it's
and
not
it took me a long time. I don't know about you, KT, but it took me a long time to not feel like, and you know what? I even still do it sometimes still, but like when I'm not working, I feel guilty that I'm not working.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I know, even like if it's well past hours, I'm like, I'm off work, but I feel like I should be doing something right now.
Yeah.
But
I get
setting
it.
up that schedule, you know, creates a line in the sand for yourself. And once you start being able to adhere to that, it gets easier. And it didn't hurt me putting out less content. In fact, I think it's helped me put out the same amount in less amount of work.
So you've done a better job at improving your workflow as opposed to just working.
Because
more
I
time.
know
Yeah.
that I can't just work all night. I've got to get it done by this amount of time.
Yeah. And also, when you're working at night and you're not getting good sleep and you're not eating well, then the efficiency of your time is way worse. It's just way worse. It's like cramming for a test. But
Well,
the test is
horrible with that.
every day, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm bad. Like especially during update times, man.
Oh.
I will get
Yeah,
get
I mean,
almost no sleep.
and we do make exceptions for really important times. Like, I say that I try to not let work encroach on my 8 hours of sleep, but there are times when it has to happen, and that's true, and that's okay every now and then. But it's not the norm, and it no longer is the norm. Whereas before it was the norm for me. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's a good question, though, Rick.
Yeah, we'll go to our next question.
Ooh, should self-interest or your fans/community's interest come first? I'm going to give this like a percentage answer. I'm going to say like 75% fan interest. I don't know. What do you think? And then 25%. I just mean when it
I
comes
guess
to
I'm
making
more
the content
selfish
that
than you.
want.
I was thinking 60-40.
I mean, that's close. That's good. Yeah, 60-40. You have to do the content that is going to make revenue. And you know what? The larger your channel is and the more established you are, and you know, the more freedom that you can have, for sure. But it's going to kind of depend on you know, what your limits are, I guess, you know.
Except mine was inverted. Mine was 60% for me.
Oh, 60% for you? Oh.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying.
No, that's good though.
Just,
that's good though. And you know, so
I like to make videos that I like to make. That's what I mean. I don't know what else to say.
sure.
I like to make videos that I like to make.
Curious to follow that, Lex. You've said that a couple times. Has it always been that way, or did you at some point make an intentional decision? I'm going to make the content I want to make. And I'm going to make it great, so it'll be successful or it won't be successful.
I don't know if I ever specifically told myself I'm going to make the content I want to make. I think that I was just like, I'm making stuff and I want to be happy with the stuff that I'm making. I want to find it interesting or fun or cringy or whatever. So this is what I'm going to make, and it's just because I wanted to do it. And fingers crossed that people think it's okay too. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, it worked out for me, but it's definitely harder to do that when you're smaller than it is. You don't have the leeway. You don't have the same
Right.
leeway. You got to make sure that videos are on point more so when you're smaller than you do when you're larger.
It is sad though, because sometimes, like, there was a point in my YouTube career where I realized that while there is a portion of people who watch my videos for me, that percentage is very small in comparison to the people who watch my content because they like the content and it's not for me. I'd probably say maybe, I don't know. There's a decent percentage, but it's so small. And when you're very first starting out, nobody cares who you are. And I'm just like, it's just a truth, and it's a harsh truth. But once I realized that, it was actually kind of freeing for me in a way, because it was like, oh, I don't have to tell everybody that everything that's going on in my life. I can just create the content that they enjoy, that I want to create. So I don't know, it's interesting. There's not really a right answer or wrong answer. It's just, is going to kind of depend.
Awesome.
It's a good question.
Oh man, I'm struggling to decide whether
Tilting
I should be a general
Tuna.
creator
Question from Tilting Tuna.
or a Supercell creator. I've been playing Supercell games for years, but want freedom on what I play. What do you suggest I do?
That's a good question. I think it is becoming increasingly more and more difficult to be a general gamer on YouTube. I think it's a lot easier for you to, unless you're really talented and really good, and you're be able to
You have to have like a massive personality.
Yeah, when I think of general gamers, I think of like Game Theorist or like
Markiplier.
Markiplier or even PewDiePie. Like these content creators who have been doing it for so long, it's very hard to compete against them because they have massive teams of people helping them create that content. As a solo creator, it's really hard to do that. Usually the easiest way for you to grow is to find a niche audience that is being underserved. So like there's not a whole lot of content, and then kind of growing there and then kind of expanding from there. I mean, I do have an idea for a general gaming YouTube channel that I want to do, and I'm going to do it when the time is right. But I'm not quite there yet. It's just not, it doesn't work for my, you know, I need to, that's for future Kairos. But like, it's hard to become a general gamer. Not saying you couldn't, because just like, you know, Lex and I and other Brawl Stars content creators have grown from really small things within Brawl Stars. People do grow. People are growing in the Clash of Clans community. People are growing in the Clash Royale community, even though those games are old. And just like the gaming community is old, then like people can grow. It's just harder, and you have to.
There's been plenty of examples of that, KT. Like even like in Tribe, like Wasim, he got into Brawl Stars extremely late into the game, but he did something that was better than almost anybody else was doing. Like the creativity in his videos. So if you're stepping into something when it's not really fresh, you just got to do it better than anybody else, or you have to do something that is different than everybody else.
Another example is
you can't
Judo
do one
Sloth.
of those things, you're going to have a hard time, you know, competing with them.
Yeah. Another example of that is Judo Sloth within the Clash of Clans community. He's like, I mean, I don't know. It's hard. You don't want to say number one, number two, because like then that has a negative impact on people's mental health. But he is definitely a top tier Clash of Clans content creator. Gets some of the most views within the entire Supercell community. And I remember when Brawl Stars was being launched, he and I had a conversation, and he was like, man, I just can't get any of my videos to do well. What kind of tips and advice do you have? And like, when he was just a little itty bitty content creator getting almost no views in Clash of Clans comparison to now, and like, he is now one of the biggest Clash of Clans content creators, even though he stuck it out, and he really worked on honing his craft and making his content better than everybody else's. So it's interesting.
That's a good call out. Yeah, he definitely puts a lot into each and every.
Judo does, man. He's an inspiration. I wish that I had his gusto or whatever, you know.
Yeah, me too. All right, we'll go to the next question. This is from Vidauki. Currently trying to reach a goal, and this month can be decisive for me. These past 5 days, my shorts aren't really doing well without any reason, and it's causing me stress. How should I handle this?
You know, Lex and I have had a lot of discussions together where sometimes we will release content that just doesn't do well. And at the end of the conversation, a lot of times our final thoughts are, you know what? I know it was a good video. I'm proud of it. And then you move on. And then maybe a month from now, you can go back and look at the analytics or something like that. But I think sometimes you have to just like, am I proud of this content? And if the answer is yes, sometimes that's what you take from it. And yeah,
you know if it's a good video, right? I mean, no matter what the numbers say, you know if it's a good video or not. And if it is to you, and you've enjoyed it, and you've enjoyed making it, then so what the numbers say? You made a good video.
I will say in response to that, Lex, sometimes I look back at videos that I was proud of 3 years ago, and I'm like, that was not a good video.
Well, of course, that's what I'm saying. It's all relative to where you are in your journey.
For sure.
But for where you are in that moment, was that a good video for you? And you think that you did your best and you've improved, then you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that in 3 years it's going to be a good video to you, but in that moment, don't stress yourself out about it. Like, sometimes the way that the algorithm and the things work are inexplicable. I mean, there's it just is.
I will say the algorithm is more about people now than it ever has been. Like the algorithm, a lot of people try and figure out how they can hack the algorithm. There's no hack for the algorithm. It's just to make a good video that people enjoy watching. And if people enjoy watching it and they see a thumbnail that they enjoy, like if they want to click on it and then they enjoy watching it, that video is going to continue to blow up. Like that's just the truth of it. But I think what the differentiation here from what Lex is saying is that sometimes what you know is a good video, and it is a good video, just might not be what other people want to watch. And that's okay. Yeah. Sometimes you have to just like leave from that situation and just from a 10 out of 10 and just say, you know what, I'm okay with the fact that not everybody wanted to watch this. I'm still proud that I made it and it is a good video. And you know what? Sometimes those good videos that do terrible at the start, you look back a year later and they are 1 out of 10. Maybe it just took a while for the algorithm to find that video's audience. That happens all the time on our channels.
Yeah, and sometimes you can't like base everything completely off those numbers you see anyways, because I've had plenty of videos just recently, you know, within the past few months where I look at it's like, oh, it's got a 60 to 65% average view duration. The click-through rate's 19%.
Both of those are really good stats, by the way. Those are really good stats.
And it's like it's an 8 out of 10 and just not getting views. Sometimes a video just doesn't have the viewers that they can't find for it. And it doesn't mean it's not a good video. It's just, you know, it's not somebody they're going to, they can't find the people that they want to share it with. And it may take a while for that to happen.
Oh, and you know what? Also, I think this is really important within the Supercell community is that a lot of times our viewership actually comes in waves based off of the update cycle. You know, the viewership is always the worst right before an update, like before we can do sneak peeks, because, you know, people had a couple of months since the last update and they're no longer watching Brawl Stars content on YouTube. They're watching other stuff. And then the update drops, and then all of a sudden everybody floods to the Brawl Stars content and they're watching it. And then you might have a video that did super poorly 2 months ago, all of a sudden get a ton of new viewership because the stats were good. The algorithm flagged it as a good video, and now it starts to release it. So sometimes, like the longer I've been doing this, the more I've recognized the importance of looking at videos over the course of an update cycle as opposed to a weekly cycle. Just look at, like, you know, 2 months ago, if after 5 months a video is still 10 out of 10, it was a trash video and people didn't want to watch it, and that's just fine. But a lot of times it gets back up there.
That's awesome. And honestly, inspirational. I think we have a couple of questions.
Yeah, please. Yeah, sorry. We could talk about this for so long. I want to get to a lot of people's questions here. So
this is from Supercell. How have you guys learned to look at data to improve your content without potentially losing motivation from poor performing videos?
Definitely. There have definitely been times when looking at the data has been inspirational as well. And sometimes I will purposefully experiment with something in a video with the knowing that, like, this might just bomb. This might not be good at all, but I want to make this video. Or I just want to know if this video could do well. I'm experimenting all the time with new stuff. I'm always trying to find the next series, right? Like my free-to-play series is big right now, and my tier list series has always been big. But I'm always trying to find out, is there some other kind of content that I can repeat without it feeling like it's a repeat, right? And so sometimes you just experiment with stuff, and the data tells you, yes, this is good, or no, it's bad, and then you kind of move from that. So like the data can be really difficult, depending on your mental state and how you look at it. But a lot of the times it's really beneficial and can be good.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had times where I felt like the video that I put out deserved to do better than it did. And I think that that's a little more on point because I've been doing this for so long that I generally know if a video is going to be good. And if I see it, I'm like, why is it not performing like I thought? Sometimes I can dig into the analytics and figure something out. Like I put out a video, it was probably a year and a half ago or so, and after the first 3 days, it probably had maybe like 70 to 100,000 views, which was not so great for me then. And looking at some data, I realized, oh, well, nobody's clicking on this video. Clearly my thumbnail isn't great. I changed the thumbnail, and now that video has like 1.7 million views. So the data told me, you know, but I did see that everybody who clicked on the video, they watched it for a long time. So clearly I just needed to improve the thumbnail. So data can be a very important tool as long as you don't let it overshadow, you know, your mental health. As long as you don't let it overrun you and totally consume everything that you think about at all times. Sometimes it is just, is this a good video? Is it going to be fun for people to watch? Because I've had the opposite times where the data wasn't that great, but yet the video did really well.
Yeah. That's a random pro tip right there. If average viewership is long, but the number of views is low, it might be the thumbnail. So I think we have...
Sometimes it's the topic, too. Sometimes you release a topic people just aren't interested in. But sometimes the thumbnail, you just swap that thumbnail and it's great.
So I believe we have one last question. It's a great one from the chat from Queen. It says, what advice would you provide to creators when it comes to being alone once the camera stops?
I like being alone.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is going to...
I think that, you know what, though? I think that there's a lot of people that are content creators that are very much introverted.
Yeah.
Like I'm a very much an introverted person. I'm okay with being alone. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. However, long stretches of that, which you're also prone to do as a content creator, isn't good for you. We're people. We still need human interaction with everybody. So whether that's your family or your friend that lives down the street or your friend that lives in another state that has his hair sticking up and he loves spreadsheets, you know what? You just give them a call. And that was nothing specific here. I'm not talking about anybody, specifically.
My hair is super pointy right now.
I know. Yeah, dude.
That's great.
Visit your friends. Hang out with your family. You can't be alone all the time.
Yeah.
You're still a human. You still need interaction with other humans.
I do think that Lex and I are in a little bit of a privileged situation as well. We both have families. We've got a spouse and we've got kids and we have friends. And so I think that our tolerances for being alone are pretty high because most of the time we're actually not alone,
Yeah,
true.
I think that
Fair.
like a lot of people may be the only person that lives in their house and are a content creator and all they do is focus on creation, and the only thing that the only other human interaction they have is the randoms that keep throwing their games for them, and that's no positive situation you want to be in, and it's a serious issue. And so I think one of my biggest advices is to find a hobby that allows you to socialize with other people and that are also interested in that hobby that maybe is outside. For example, I like to go rollerblading. I've got a group text where if I ever want to go skating at the skate park or at the roller rink or whatever, I can just send a message to them and I'll have 2 or 3 guys there doing what I love with them. And they don't even know that I'm a YouTuber. They haven't asked what I do for a living because we just talk about rollerblading, which is funny. But like trying to find some other people that have similar interests is really important, and it's difficult.
Yeah, it could be a church group, something like that.
It could, something like that. Whatever it takes. I don't know. You don't want to be that creepy guy that goes and just like flags people down on the streets and is just like, hey, do you want to be my friend? Maybe
So
that's what you need to do.
So that's not good that I do that?
Well, I don't know. Lex and I, that's pretty much how our relationship happened, except it wasn't on the street. It was just on a call. So I don't know. It's hard. It's a serious issue. And I think that I think a really important thing that we should at least hit on here is that if you are struggling with some sort of mental health issue, there is no shame. In fact, it should be celebrated to reach out to a professional in some way.
100%.
Because mental health, I mean, just a little bit of a serious note. I hate ending on the serious note, but people kill themselves every single year. Suicide is a very real issue, and mental health is very, very serious. So if you're struggling with any type of mental health, there are a lot of resources that are available to you. I don't know if the Supercell content creator program is still hosting some sessions with the healthygamer.gg Foundation, or I don't know. I'm saying stuff that's probably not like actually official, but like I know that in the past Supercell has even helped some content creators get in contact with therapists and professionals, and that's really important. It's nothing to be ashamed of. A lot of the times, and sometimes mental health really is just a brain chemistry issue, and sometimes you do not have control over that. A lot of the things that we do have an impact on it, but you want to go to the professionals for it. You really do. Find some friends, get some hobbies, do everything you can, try and improve your physical health, but professional help is always great advice.
Man, Kairos with the awesome closing to the panel today. Thank you very much, Kairos. And I think something you said is worth highlighting is that it's nothing to be ashamed of, something to be proud of. If you get to a point where you recognize through signals, emotions, whatever you're experiencing, that you need to reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone, even if it's just another content creator that you know in the space that's a friend, and start there. Thank you guys very much for joining us on the panel today. Thank you so much, Lex and Kairos, for everything that you shared, all of your tips, your advice, and just your authenticity in general. And thank you, of course, to Supercell for these Creator Academy panels and everything that you're doing over at supercellcreators.com. Don't forget, like we talked at the beginning, the threshold has increased as more and more creators can get involved now in the Supercell Creator Program. So go to supercellcreators.com and sign up today. Thank you guys, and we will see you next time.